Imagine that a single decision made at an ordinary negotiating table could wipe out tens of billions of dollars. And the most terrifying part, at the time, everyone was convinced they were making the right choice.
Imagine you're running the most famous beverage company in the world. Your logo is recognized by millions and your drink is sold in nearly every country on earth. It seems like there is nothing left to worry about, but one day your analytics bring you the latest research. It's blind tests, more and more people are choosing your biggest competitor, Pepsi. For Coca-Cola executives, it was a serious warning sign. So the company decided to do what seems like the most logical thing imaginable, change the formula so the drink would taste better to customers. No one could have predicted that this single decision would become one of the biggest marketable mistakes in history.
The problem wasn't the taste, it was the way you perfect numbers, clean data, logical outcome. But reality was never that simple. But people don't drink Coca-Cola as data points. They experience it through moments, through memory. It disrupted a symbol memories.
In the early 2000s, Microsoft wasn't just a successful company. It defines how the entire computer industry worked. Near every office, every home, and every school ran on Windows. For a while, it seemed as if there was no real competition, but beneath the surface, a new reality was beginning to emerge. The world was no longer becoming more computer-centric, and in 2007 it was becoming mobile. Then came the iPhone. And it did one remarkably simple thing. It moved the computer from the desk into your pocket. Suddenly, people no longer needed a powerful PES to stay connected. Microsoft saw the shift. But the company believed smartphones were simply another category product rather than the future of computing. They began developing Windows Phone, but they moved far more slowly than their competitors. By the time Microsoft introduced a truly competitive product, the market had already moved on.
The mistake wasn't missing smartphones at first. It was assuming the PC world was still the center of computing. By the time Windows Phone arrived, the ecosystem had already been built elsewhere. And ecosystems are harder to replace than the technology itself.
And that was the moment the company made one of its biggest blunders. That is precisely why people fell in love with Netflix. One service, one account, no complicated settings. You simply opened the app and started watching a movie right away. But in 2011, the company decided to completely change this simple system. Netflix decided to split its business. One service would handle streaming, the other DVDs by mail. On paper, it seemed logical. But for millions of users, things became much more complicated. Instead of the single, familiar service they were used to, they suddenly had two separate ones. And that was the moment the company made one of these biggest blunders.
Great products remove decisions. Bad decisions create new ones. Each extra step seems small. Another login, another site, another decision. But multiplied by millions of people, friction turns into loss. Most users don't leave because they hate your product. They leave because using it stops feeling effortless. Simplicity isn't just good design, it's a competitive advantage. In 2021, Facebook did something almost no one expected. The company didn't just launch a new product. It changed its own name. Facebook became Meta. But there was one problem. Most people weren't ready to change the way they communicated and worked. Great technology isn't enough. People have to want it. And wanting something takes time. Innovation doesn't spread because it exists. It spreads when it fits naturally into people's lives. You can invest billions into the future, but you can't force billions of people to change their habits overnight. Every great technology has its moment. The hardest part is But not every story on this list ends in failure. In the mid-90s, Apple itself found itself on the brink of bankruptcy. Too many directions, and not enough focus on what truly mattered. More products don't always create more value. Sometimes, they only create more complexity. He didn't begin by building something new. He began by deciding what wasn't worth building anymore. Focus is a decision. Every product you keep means saying no to something else. Apple didn't recover because it built more. It recovered because it finally chose what truly mattered. People don't fall in love with complicated products. They fall in love with products that simply work. Sometimes, removing one unnecessary step is worth more than adding 10 new features. 5 companies. 5 completely different stories, different industries, different leaders, different decades, but they all made the same mistake. Success is powerful. It gives companies confidence, but sometimes it gives them something far more dangerous: the illusion that the future will look exactly like the past. Markets change. Technology changes. People change. And while companies celebrate yesterday's victories, the world quietly moves forward. None of these companies failed because they lacked money. They failed because they misunderstood people, or misunderstood timing. Sometimes, both. The most expensive mistakes rarely look like mistakes. In the moment they're made, they often look like the smartest decision in the room. Every company you saw today believed it was making the right decision. That's what makes these stories unforgettable. The biggest mistakes in business are almost never obvious until it's too late.